citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
And also, could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about 30 million,
Right.
et cetera?
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars. In net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But just there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it. So. We're looking at, say, if you look at, say, Treasury, for example, basic controls that should be in place, that are in place in any company, such as making sure that any given payment has a payment categorization code, that there is a comment field that describes the payment, and that if a payment is on the do not pay list, that you don't actually pay it. None of those things are true currently. So the reason that departments can't pass audits is because the payments don't have a categorization code. It's like just a massive number of blank checks just flying out the building. So you can't reconcile blank checks. You've got comment fields that are also blank, so you don't know why the payment was made. And then we've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year for an organization to get on a do not pay list. And this, we're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters, known aspects of waste, known things that do not match any congressional appropriation, can take up to a year to get on the list, and even once on the list is not used. It's mind-blowing.
That's crazy.
So what we're talking about here, we're really just talking about adding common sense controls that should be present.
Yeah, maybe let's not pay terrorists or Al-Qaeda or scammers.
So like, well, how could such a thing
It's a great
arise?
idea.
That seems crazy.
Look at little
When you
X, dude.
understand
He's like,
that really everything is geared towards complaint minimization. So then you understand the motivations. So if people receive money, they don't complain, obviously. But if people
They just
don't
shut 'em
receive
up?
money, they do complain.
they just try to shut him up.
And the fraudsters complain the loudest and the fastest. So.
It's so cold out
Then
here,
when you
guys.
understand that, then it makes sense. Oh, that's why everything they approve all the payments at Treasury. Because if you approve all the payments,
No one gets
you
mad.
don't get complaints.
Fuck yeah, easy job.
But now we're saying that, no, actually, we are going to complain. If money is spent badly, if your taxpayer dollars are not spent in a sensible and frugal manner, then that's not okay. Your tax dollars need to be spent wisely. Like, it's just common
agree with
sense.
that.
It's not draconian or radical. I think it's really just saying, let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people? And if it is, it's approved. If it's not, we should think about it. So, there's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old.
And I don't know anybody 150 years old.
Anyone is 150? I don't. Okay.
I don't know a single person.
They should be on the Guinness Book of World
Get him
Records.
out! Get him out!
Um,
Get them
so,
out!
That's a case where, I think they're probably dead. It's my
Yeah,
guess.
scammer. Probably some scammers.
Or they should be very famous. One of the two.
Guinness World Record,
And then
oldest
there's a
living
whole bunch of
person.
Social Security payments where there's no identifying information. Well, why is there no identifying information? Obviously, we want to make sure that people who deserve to receive Social Security.
Trump's just sitting there
receive it.
quietly. I wonder how that feels for him.
They receive it quickly and accurately.
He's like, this guy's pretty
Um,
smart, man.
Also, another
Maybe I should just step
thing,
aside.
You know, one of the things is like we are trying to sort of right-size the federal bureaucracy, just make sure that this, obviously there needs to be a lot of people working for the federal government, but not as many as currently. So we're saying, well,
It's
okay,
inflated.
if people can retire, you know, with full benefits and everything, that would be good. They can retire, get their retirement payments, everything. And then we were told, this is actually, I think, a great anecdote, because we were told no, the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like,
Damn.
why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated.
Everything is so slow in our government. It's kind of crazy.
It goes down a mine.
That's why I'm happy to have Elon.
Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine.
Dude, even if he just streamlines everything, like imagine going to the DMV and you don't have to wait like 50 hours for anything. You just walk in, boop, 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 you're done. That's what I want Elon for.
But we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's like
We've never had an update.
time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal.
That's
federal
crazy.
government. And the elevator breaks down and then sometimes, and then nobody can retire.
What are
Doesn't
they
that sound
told?
crazy?
Are they just told like, yo, sorry, you can't retire. You just gotta wait another couple months. Just wait another couple months, and yeah, we'll retire your ass.
There's like 1,000 people that work on this. So I think if we take those people and say, like, you know what, instead of working in a mine shaft and carrying manila envelopes to, you know, boxes in a mine shaft,
Mine
you could do
shaft, what?
practically anything else, and you would add to the goods and services of the United States in a more useful way. So anyway, so I think, you know, that's an example. Like at a high level, if you say, like, how do we increase prosperity? Is we get people to shift from roles that are low to negative productivity
Yeah,
to
useless
high
jobs.
productivity roles. And so you increase the total output of goods and services, which means that there's a higher standard of living available for everyone. That's the actual goal. Everyone's very quiet. So,
Who's in there? I want to know who's in there.
Mr. Musk,
I have to what?
including a lot of Democrats.
I have detractors?
You do, sir.
I
What?
don't believe it.
Say
Have
that
detractors?
you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Dark
Well, first of
MAGA.
all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public. The public voted. We have a majority of the public voting for President Trump. We won the House. We won the Senate.
Supreme Court.
The people voted for major government reform.
That's what I voted
There should
for.
be no doubt about that. That
Throw an
was
axe at
on
it.
the campaign.
Afuera.
The president spoke about that at every rally. The people voted for major government reform.
I'm very
and
happy with
that's what
Elon,
people
to be
are gonna
honest.
get. They're going to get what they voted for. And a lot of times, people that don't get what they voted for, but in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for. And that's what democracy is all about.
You may think
Why does
that
he keep
Nicole
holding his
Kidman
hand
can't
like
stop
that?
watching
It's
the
looking
keyboard,
really
like something like
Freemasonry.
this, but this is what they really look like.
Look at that.
Mr. Musk, the White House says that you will identify and
What's
excuse
going
yourself
on?
from any conflicts of interest that you may have. Does that mean that you are in effect policing yourself? What are the checks and balances that are in place to ensure that there is accountability and
I got it too.
transparency?
Well, we actually are
Kid
trying to
just
be as
says no.
transparent as possible. In fact, we post our actions to the Doge handle on
the
X
kid's like, no.
and to the Doge website. So all of our actions are maximally transparent. In fact, I don't think there's been, I don't know of a case where an organization has been more transparent than the Doge organization. So, and the kind of things we're doing are, I think, very, very simple and basic. They're not.
They haven't even started
When I
yet.
mentioned, for example, about Treasury, just making sure that payments that go out, taxpayer money that goes out, is categorized correctly, that the payment is explained, that organizations on the do not pay list, which takes a lot to get there, that actually are not paid, which currently they are paid. These are not individual judgment decisions. These are about simply having sensible checks and balances in the system itself to ensure that taxpayer money is spent well. So it's got nothing to do with, like, say, a contract with some company of mine at all.
But if there is a conflict of interest when it comes to you yourself? For instance, you've received billions of dollars in federal contracts. When it comes to the Pentagon, for instance, which the president I know has directed you to look into.
Yeah.
Are you policing yourself in that? Is there any sort of accountability check and balance in place?
I mean, he's
that
actually
would
doing something though.
provide any transparency for the American people?
Well, all of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, you say like, wait a second, hey, Elon, that seems like maybe that's, there's a conflict there. It's not like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately,
Including you yourself.
Yes, but transparency is what builds trust, not simply somebody asserting trust. So not somebody saying they're trustworthy, but transparency, so you can see everything that's going on.
That's true.
And then you can see, am
You
I
can
doing
judge it,
something that
yeah.
benefits one of my companies or not? It's totally obvious.
And if we thought that, we would not let him do that segment or look in that area. If we thought there was a
Conflict of
lack
interest.
of transparency or a conflict of interest. And we watch that also. He's a big businessman. He's a successful guy. That's why we want him doing this. We don't want an unsuccessful guy doing this. Now, one thing also that Elon hasn't really mentioned are the groups of people that are getting some of these payments. They're ridiculous. And we're talking about billions of dollars that we've already found. We found fraud and abuse. I would say those two words as opposed to the third word that I usually use, but in this case, fraud and abuse. It's abuse
Fraud
because most
and
of these
abuse.
things are virtually made up, or
Wrong.
certainly money shouldn't be sent to them. And you know what I'm talking about. It's crazy. So, but we're talking about tens of billions of dollars that we've already found. And now a judge who's an activist judge.
I heard it got turned
wants
turned
to
down
try
by
and
the
stop us from doing this. Why?
appeals
Why would
court?
I want to do that? I campaigned on this. I campaigned on the fact that I said government is corrupt, and it is very corrupt. It's very, very. It's also foolish. As an example, a man has a contract
sorry.
for 3 months,
Sorry, I'm tired, guys. I'm on vacation, but I wanted to watch this.
and the contract ends, but they keep paying him for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Because nobody ends a contract. You got a lot
There's
of
no
that.
accountability. There's
A
never been
contract that's
accountability.
A 3-month contract. Now, normally, if you're in a small, in all fairness, it's the size of this thing is so big.
Yeah.
But if you have a contract and you're in a regular business, you end the contract in 3 months. It's a consultant. Here's a contract for 3 months, but it goes on for 20 years.
Yeah. How does that
And
work?
the guy doesn't say that he got money for 20 years. They don't say it. They just keep getting checks month after month, and you have various things like that, and even much worse than that, actually, much worse. And I guess you
You have
call that
straight up fraud in there.
incompetence, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be corruption. It could be deals made on both sides. Where the guy gets the money, he kicks. I think there's a lot of kickback here. I see
Yeah.
a lot of kickback here.
That's how these politicians have such inflated net worths. Like Nancy Pelosi's worth like what, 200 million?
Tremendous kickback, because nobody could be so stupid to give out some of these contracts.
Yes.
So he has to get a kickback. So that's what I got elected for. That and borders and military and a lot of things, but this is a big part of it. And I hope that the court system is going to allow us to do what we have to do. We got elected to among other things, find all of this fraud, abuse, all of this horrible stuff going on. And we've already found billions of dollars, not like a little bit, billions, many billions. of
Billions.
dollars. And
Billions.
when you get down to it, it's going to be probably
Trillions.
close to $1 trillion. It could be close to $1 trillion that we're going to find.
Probably more.
That will have quite an impact on the budget. And you'll go to a judge where they handpick a judge, and he has certain leanings. I'm not knocking anybody for that, but he has certain leanings, and he wants us to stop looking. How do
Hell
you
no,
stop
keep
looking?
going.
We've already found it.
You're already too
we have
deep.
a case in New York where a hotel has paid $59 million.
That's
$59
wild.
million
From
because of-
FEMA.
because it's housing
FEMA.
migrants, illegal migrants, all illegal, I believe.
And they were being paid twice the normal room rate at 100% occupancy.
Unbelievable.
So it's a
I,
racket.
I saw this in person at LAX. I did like Uber Eats, and I would go into some of these hotels to deliver, and there was not a single American in there. They were all always like, say it'd be a bunch of like Arabs or like a bunch of Indians and Mexicans and so on. Like it just, I was like, what is going on here? But now I get what it is. They were getting paid to stay there.
Can I ask you a question? You
Well,
said on,
if I may sort of going for the president's comments. At a high level, you say, well, what are the two ingredients that are really necessary in order to cut the budget deficit in half from 2 trillion to 1 trillion? And it's really two things: competence and caring. And if you add competence and caring, you'll cut the budget deficit in half. And I fully expect to be scrutinized and get a daily proctology exam, basically. Might as well just camp out there.
Daily
so
proctology
it's not like
exam.
I think I can get away with something. I'll be scrutinized nonstop. But with the support of the president, we can cut the budget deficit in half from 2 trillion to 1, and then with deregulation, because there's a lot of sort of regulations that don't ultimately serve the public good. We need to free the builders of America to build, and if we do that, that means I think we can get the economic growth to be maybe 3-4%, maybe 5%, and that means if you can get $1 trillion of economic growth and you cut the budget deficit by $1 trillion, between now and next year, there is no inflation.
That's
There's no
wild.
inflation in
Let's
26.
go.
And if the government is not borrowing as much, it means that interest costs decline.
Let's
So
go.
everyone's- the mortgage, the car payment,
Everybody
the
wants
credit card
that.
bills, anything, their student debt, the monthly payments drop.
Let's go.
Is
When
your
are the
tech
banks gonna
stack
start paying
ticking
us?
fast?
Indeed it is. Upgrade to Apps Fly.
That's a fantastic scenario
Absolutely.
for the average American. I mean, imagine like they're going down the grocery aisle and the prices from one year to the next are the same, and their their mortgage, all their debt payments dropped. How great is that for the average American?
That'd be
That's
amazing.
what we
That'll help so
we
many
had no
people.
idea we were going to find this much, and it's open. It's not like complicated. It's
It's not that
simple stuff.
complicated.
It's
It's a
like
lot of work.
we
Yeah.
can't believe it. A lot of work, a lot of smart people involved. Very, very.
I wonder
smart
what's gonna
people.
happen when they
But,
audit the
it's-
Pentagon.
You're talking about anywhere, maybe 500 billion. It's crazy the kind of numbers you're
It is really
talking
crazy.
about. You know, normally when you're looking at something, you'll find you're looking for 1 out of 100. Here, you're almost reversing it. You look for
You
one
find
that's
one good thing,
and you can look at the title.
million
And
bad.
you say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And the public gets it. You know, the public gets it. You've seen the polls. The public is saying, why are we paying all this money?
Why are we
For
paying this
years
money for
this has
nothing?
gone on.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, go ahead. Wait, go ahead.
Senator Rand Paul today said that DOJ cuts will ultimately need a vote in Congress. Do you agree with that? Is that the
I
plan?
really don't know. I know this. We're finding tremendous fraud and tremendous abuse. If I need a vote of Congress to find fraud and abuse, it's fine with me. I think we'll get the vote, although there'll be some people that wouldn't vote. And how could
That's
a
who's getting
judge wanna
kickbacks,
hold us
probably.
back from finding all of this fraud and finding all of this incompetence?
Yeah, this is all good for us
Why would
taxpayers in
that
the
happen?
end.
Why would even Congress want to do that? Now, Congress, if we do need a vote, I think we'd get a very easy vote because we have a track record now. We've already found billions of dollars of abuse, incompetence, and corruption. A lot of corruption.
If a judge does block one of your policies, part of your agenda, will you abide by that ruling? Will you
Well,
comply
I
with
always
that?
Fuck
abide by
no.
the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum, and it gives crooked people more time to cover up the books. You know, if a person's crooked and they get caught, other people see that, and all of a sudden it becomes harder later on. So,
Yeah.
the answer is I always abide by the courts, always abide by them, and will appeal. But appeals take a long time, and I would hope that a judge, if you go into a judge and you show him, here's a corrupt situation, we have a check to be sent, but we found it to be corrupt. Do you want us to send this corrupt check to a person, or do you want us not to give it and give it back to the taxpayer? I would hope a judge would say, don't send it, give it back to the taxpayer.
Yeah, if I can add to that, what we're finding is that a bunch of the fraud is not even going to Americans. So I think we can all agree that if there's going to be fraud, it should at least go to Americans. But a bunch of the fraud rings that are operating in the United States and taking advantage of the federal government, especially in the entitlements programs, are actually foreign fraud rings. They're operating in other countries and actually exporting money to other countries. We should stop that.
Why don't we help ourselves?
And this is big numbers. Talk about $100 to $200 billion a year. Serious money.
Mr. Musk, you said on X
Yeah.
that an example of the fraud that you have cited
was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza.
Oh yeah, I heard about
After
this.
fact check this, apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV. So can you correct the statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas actually. It was
Regardless,
sent to
still don't want to do
Mozambique,
that.
why condoms was sent there.
Yeah.
And how can we make sure that all the statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what you say?
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly. I'm not sure that's something Americans would be really excited about.
Yeah.
That is really an enormous number of condoms, if you think about it.
$50 million, dude. Oh my
But,
god.
If it went to Mozambique,
could do so much with $50 million.
That's not as bad, but still, why
You
we
could
do
buy Chuck Schumer a new grill.
Can you talk a little bit about
You
how
can get
closely you're
classes
working
on how to
with
cook
agency heads
burgers.
As you're directing these cuts, do they have how much input do agency heads have when you're making these decisions?
Yeah, we work closely with the agency heads,
Oh,
so-
that was
so
cold
there-
as
there-
fuck.
There are sort of checks in place, so it's not just us just going in and doing things willy-nilly. It's in
Willy-nilly.
partnership with the agency heads, and I check frequently with the president to make sure that this is what the president wants to have happen. So we talk almost every day, and I double check things to make sure, is this something, Mr. President, you want us to do this? Then we'll do it.
USAID has been one of your main targets. Are you concerned at all that some of the cuts or that shutting that agency altogether may lead to diseases or other bigger problems
Yeah.
starting in other countries that then come to the United States?
Yeah, so that's an interesting example. So that's something where we work closely with the State Department and Secretary Rubio. And we have, for example, turned on funding for Ebola prevention and for HIV prevention.
Left that, you said?
Yes, correct. And we are moving fast, so we will make mistakes, but we'll also fix the mistakes very quickly. So
That's the thing about transparency, dude, and
I
accountability.
think that there's some worthy things, but overall, if you say what is the bang for the buck, I would say it was not very good. And there was far too much of what USAID was doing was influencing elections in ways that I think were dubious and do not stand the light of day.
The cash in your Wealthfront cash account earns nearly 10 times the national average rate. If your workouts work like Wealthfront...
I think it's also a follow-up to the Pentagon contracts. If you have received billions of dollars in contracts from the Pentagon, and the president's directing you to look into the Department of Defense, is
Yes,
that
which we
a
definitely need
conflict
to
of
do and
interest?
are going to do at the president's request.
Does that present a conflict of interest for you?
No, because you'd have to look at the individual contract and say, first of all, I'm not the one, filing the contract. It's people at SpaceX or someone who will be putting for the contract. And I'd like to say, if you see any contract where where it was awarded to SpaceX and it wasn't by far the best value for money for the taxpayer, let me know, because every one of them was.
Yes, right.
The president said the other day that you
That was a
might
gangster
look at
response.
treasuries. Could you explain that a little bit? What kind of fraud, and that question goes to both of you, what kind of fraud are you expecting to see or do you see right now in U.S. treasuries?
Yeah, I think you mean the Treasury Department as opposed to Treasury bills, or.
You also referenced treasuries on Air Force One the other night.
Go ahead.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, really, the first order of business is to make sure we're actually collecting. Sorry for this. I thought my son might enjoy this, but he's sticking his fingers in my ears and stuff. So it's a bit hard to hear sometimes. Hey, stop that. No, the stuff we're doing with the Treasury Department is so basic that you can't believe it doesn't exist already. So for example, it's like, what type of payment is this? You can't just leave the field blank. Currently, many payments, the field is left blank. And you have to describe what's the payment for, some basic rationalization. That also is left blank. So this is why, the Pentagon, when's the last time the Pentagon passed an audit? I mean, decade ago,
7
maybe?
years, 10 years, I don't know.
Ever? Really? And we want to just, in order to actually pass audits, you have to have financial information that allows you to trace the payments. And once in a while, the Treasury has to pause payments if it thinks the payment is going to a fraudulent organization. if you get on that payment, the do no pay list, it means that this is someone that is just like dead people, terrorists.
Yeah, I don't want to pay dead
fraudsters,
people.
That kind of thing. We should not pay them. But currently we do, which is crazy. We should stop that.
Many transactions. And by the way, 100 team. And for the sake of the country, I hope that the person that's in charge and the other people that report to me that are in charge are allowed to do the right thing, namely make sure everything's honest, legitimate, and competent. But we're looking at just, when you look at USAID, that's one. We're gonna look at the military, we're gonna look at education.
Damn,
They're
it's gonna
much
be
bigger
crazy.
areas. But the USAID is really corrupt. I'll tell you, it's corrupt. It's incompetent and it's really corrupt. And I can't imagine a judge saying, well, it may be corrupt, but you don't have the right. You got elected to look over the country and to, as we say, make America great again, but you don't have the right to go and look and see whether or not things are right that they're paying or that things are honest that they're paying. And nobody can even believe this. Other people, law professors, right away. You're supposed to be running the country, but we're not allowed to look at who they're paying it to
Stupid.
and what they're paying. We have
Just let 'em do
massive
it.
amounts of fraud that we caught. I
Come
think
on.
we probably caught way over a lot of billions of dollars already in, what, 2 weeks? And it's going to go to numbers that you're not going to believe.
Dude, it's only been 2 weeks. That's
Much
crazy.
is incompetence and much is dishonesty.
It still
We
has
have to
4
catch it.
years.
And the only way you're going to catch it is to look for it. And if a judge is going to say you're not allowed to look for it,
That's kind of
pretty
messed
sad for
up.
our country.
What does that say
I
about the
don't understand
judge?
how it could even work.
The judge might be into it. He might be getting a kickback.
Which one?
The buyout program, the operative federal workers, can you personally guarantee that the workers who opt in to resign now will be paid through
Well, they'll
September?
get their money, but they're getting a good deal. They're getting a big buyout. And what we're trying to do is reduce government. We have too many people. We have office space. It's occupied by 4%. Nobody's showing up to work because they were told not to. And then Biden gave them a 5-year pass, some of them, 48,000 of them, gave them a 5-year pass, that for 5 years you don't have to show up to work.
What? I didn't know about
And let
this.
me tell you, this is large.
Why would you even do
Much of this
that?
stuff is because of Biden. It's his fault.
5-year pass?
He allowed this country, what he did on our border. What he did on our border is almost not as bad as what he did with all of these contracts that have come out. It's a very sad day when we look at it. I can't even believe it. But many contracts just extend and they just keep extending, and there was
Yeah,
nobody
there's just
there
no
to
oversight.
and,
Nobody just
that-
looks
that
over
cannot
everything.
be- I can't imagine that could be held up by the court.
What a shit pile.
Any court that would say that the president or his representatives, like Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of State, whatever, doesn't have the right to go over their books and make sure everything's honest. I mean, how can you have
Just
a
let 'em
country?
do
You can't
it.
have anything that way. You can't have a
Stupid
business
judges.
That way. You can't have a country that way. Hey, thank you
They're
very
getting
much.
paid for sure.
Thank you.
I love this part when they yell at him.
Mark Fogel will be at the White House tonight at about 10 o'clock. If you want to come over, you can say hello to him.
Did you guys get anything in return?
Let's go see if the...
How much? No.
What's his name?
Very
Something...
nice.
He just
We were
said it.
treated very
Fogel?
nicely by Russia, actually.
Fogel?
I hope that's the beginning of a
Let's go check on Fogel. President Trump welcomes back Mark Fogel to the United States from Russia. I don't even think we had to trade anyone for him. I think we just got him for free. He was just a free agent in jail over there, and Trump just offered him a deal. Just like Luka's coming to the Los Angeles Lakers. We got Fogel coming back to America. I just want to see what he looks like. Is he in good condition? Because usually when they go to jail and stuff, they come back not so good. Actually, the people in the Venezuelan jail were like in pretty good condition too. Here we go.
Man on earth right now. And I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And
He looks a little dazed,
President Trump,
a little confused and
is a
dazed.
hero. These men that came from the diplomatic service are heroes. The senators and and representatives that pass legislation in my honor to get me home are the heroes.
Is he holding a beer or a Diet Coke?
I am in awe of what they all did. My family has been a force. I think my 95-year-old mother is probably the most dynamic 95-year-old on earth right now.
That's funny.
And, I am so indebted to so many people. I think I remember a
USA,
Churchill quote
USA,
that said,
USA.
when the RAF was fighting the Luftwaffe, and he said that
The Luftwaffe.
never have so many owed so much to so few. And I put myself, fortunately and unfortunately, into that category. And I said, never has one.
Yeah, this guy was a prisoner in Russia.
To so many that
Got released.
this superorganism of people that came to my support.
I think since 2021.
And the love that I was given sustained me for 3.5 years in a prison that had me in hospitals for more than 100 days.
I'm telling you, he looks a little
Given more
messed
than
up.
400 injections in that time. And knowing I had the support of my fellow Pennsylvanians, my family, my friends.
He's in good spirits.
So overwhelming.
His life starts over again. If Kamala won, he would have never been out.
Brought me to my knees and it brought me to tears, but it was my energy, it was my being that kept me going that whole time, and I will forever be indebted to President Trump, to Steve over there. What a dynamic man this guy is.
Steve Witkoff, I believe. Yeah, I like the way that guy talks. He's like a lawyer.
The energy, the can-do attitude just exudes from his body. And when he smiled at me and introduced me, and I got the feel for what has happened, you know, it's not just me,
Let's
it's
go.
everybody.
W.
Secretary Rubio, who met my son a while back. I'm a middle-class school teacher who's now
He's free. He's a free man.
in a dream world.
We're going to show you the Lincoln bit in a little while. It's a
I
very
haven't-
special place.
Dude, I can't imagine how he feels.
Very appropriate.
Probably feels amazing.
Thank you all. And I love our country. And I'm so happy to be back here.
Let's go get him some McDonald's. He deserves a Diet Coke and McDonald's.
Plus, we believe your home should be a celebration of you. And there has never been a better time to create.
I wish I could articulate it better.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
He's got a
Go
great
get some rest, pal.
And when I saw the mother at a rally, she said, if you win, will you get my son out? And I promised, she's 95 years old. And I said, we'll get him out. And we got him out pretty quickly.
And your team.
It's great to have you back.
He keeps touching President Trump. It looks funny.
Did you speak directly to President Putin about
Well, I don't want to say that. I just want to say that I appreciate very much what they did in letting Mark go home. And I appreciate Steve Witkoff, the job he did, and Marco behind the scenes was unbelievable. And so many of these people were unbelievable.
Russia and USA alliance coming soon.
His area, and we just wanted to get him back home. I had to get him back home because I would have had big trouble with his mother, which nobody gets to see. And it's
This
very
dynamic
special
mother.
to see it.
94-year-old mother.
And I also should make mention that President Putin was very generous and statesmanlike in granting me a pardon. I mean,
what were the terms of this deal, Mr. President?
Very fair, very fair, very reasonable.
Yeah, what was he charged with? Wasn't he a spy or something? He tried spying?
They were very fair, and
What
I
were
think
they?
that's going to lead. And somebody else is being released tomorrow.
Ooh, who's that?
You will know of.
Who's getting released tomorrow? What the hell?
I wanted to get this this
What the
very
hell?
important. And Steve wanted
Snowden?
to actually fly over and get Mark and get him home properly because it could be.
Is Snowden a prisoner? I don't know though.
They have soldiers, young people have been killed.
I've met many of them.
Yeah, and it's a terrible thing going on. So we want to get that done. I think this could be the very important element. You could be a big part of it actually, because it could be a big important part of getting the war over with Ukraine. And we appreciate President Putin's what he did. He was able to pull it off for you, right? He was able to pull it off. We think, and you're here. So it was great. We'll tell you a little bit more about it. And it did happen, and now you have all blown up cities and dead people. Important evening for ending that war, and I think they all want to see it ended.
Does that mean you gave assurances about Ukraine?
How does it change your perspective on Putin and your attitude?
Well, I don't want to get into that. I only can say this. We got a man home whose mother and family wanted him desperately, whose state wanted him. He's become a big symbol. And it's an honor to have.
We're so back. We're so fucking back. Biden would never do this shit, dude. He traded like 3 prisoners for a WNBA player.
Looks good, actually. To me, you look damn good. I'll tell you.
We didn't trade anybody.
I think when expectations are low, maybe that helps a little bit.
You go plunk, right?
Can you tell us about the conditions in prison that you were in, sir?
I think I need a little bit of time to sort of digest all of that. There were times when
Oh, I'm sure it was fucking rough, dude. I heard.
extremely trying. There were times when I could manage it, but I think I need some more time to, process.
It wasn't easy, right? It wasn't easy.
Every second, every minute, every day had a challenge.
But you're in good shape. I mean, compare that to what we saw 2 days ago. Come home. They were very, very ill. Very ill. They were treated really badly.
Mr. President, your predecessor left almost $4 billion in unused aid for Ukraine. Are you going to use those money? Are you going to
Well, we're going to see, but my
weapons to
predecessor
Ukraine?
should have had this gentleman out a long time ago. We did it in 2.5 weeks. He had 4 years to do it. He should have had Mark out.
Biden was a potato, though. We all knew that. Imagine that guy in a negotiation. He's like, Putin, sir. Chocolate chip.
Should have never had that war. Would have never
He
happened.
would poop himself.
But he should have had him back 3.5 years ago. So it was too bad. But
Sleepy Joe.
he did it. Thank you all very much. Thank
And to all a good night.
Mr. President, are reciprocal tariffs still coming tomorrow, or are you waiting until you meet with them?
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Have you spoken with President Xi?
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Alright, folks, that's the videos for today. Elon Musk and Trump signed executive orders. And Trump got, what was his name? Mark Fogelback from Russia. I think this is like to, warm up the both countries to get some peace going. And yeah, that's it. I'll be back tomorrow streaming more news. There's so much coming out every day that, yeah. So, thank you guys. Like and sub if you want more. Bye.